what's going on, everybody, and thanks for joining us again. We're live, and today we've got a full set for... First, we're kicking off with Squid Games, and I hope you're at least somewhat into the second season. We're going to stay away from major spoilers, but we're going to talk briefly a little bit about the second season and a lot of the records that are being broken, but then even more so, just some interesting anecdotal stories that'll add to the dialogue. So I hope you're at least in the Squid Game mood. But then we're going to follow that up with how New Yorkers just don't cease to amaze as they cheer on and celebrate a transit tax that'll cost New Yorkers roughly about $220 a month. So, hey, no big deal. Just we love being bent over and we love the pain. And finally, we're going to wrap it up. Good thing we've got our Canuck friend playing with syrup up there north, because we actually have an authority on the matter to talk about how Trudeau has resigned with tears and hat in hand. He had a difficult dinner with the family and he had to resign. So we're going to break that apart too. But with that being said, speaking of which, let's bring in the Pickle Gallery. Silent joining us as always. How you doing, Silent?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing great. How's everybody doing today?
Dude, good. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Kick.com/silentdestroyer. We're live every single day.
That's right.
Let's get it going.
So I'm going to be I'm glad to hear you've caught up fully on Squid Games, but I'm going to be most excited to hear about what you have to say in regards to your lovely prime minister. But that being said, can't do it without my good friend and my co-host, Will Hubert. Will, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for inviting me to the Eyes Wide Shut party. It is bizarre. Like, before we get into the show, watching them talk on the show, like just watching their mouth move and the top not move at all. It really is bizarre to like see in like person now.
Oh, see my mask?
Yeah, like see your mask, but like your mouth perfectly move underneath it, and it's like something visually is off with it.
Oh yeah. And just can we acknowledge that, like, when you get to the highest echelon of success and wealth, you like degrade to like a third grade interest level where it's like, I want to dress up, this is how I show my eliteness.
Yeah.
I am a very important person the second I put a mask on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, ask Michael Jackson. He thought the same thing.
I think all the children that found themselves at the base of an owl effigy thought the same thing as well. But, here we are. Those are the folks that run our country. That being said, we can't do it without the man running the keys. As always, Dougie Fresh. How you doing, Doug?
Oh, I'm doing great. Good evening, viewers. If you are ready, we will begin the first topic.
That being said, I gotta say, me and Doug are clearly very committed to the bit here. Doug, you're dressed up. The guy's masked. What are you even supposed to be dressed up?
Yeah, Will, what the heck are you doing?
I am the game pal. All right. I don't know who you're talking to, but I am the game pal.
That's right. That's a perfect segue to launch us right back in, because your character doesn't last long.
No, but boy, does he make an exit.
Yeah, he kicks off the season. Talk about a start to a show.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think what's also fun, the first season really pulled on your emotional strings in terms of all the different character types: darkness, evil, greed, love, passion, ignorance is bliss.
The show really is an interesting discussion on capitalism.
Oh,
and like the effects it has on individuals.
And there's a lot of those different aspects, human nature, greed. Yeah. But one of the things that I liked a lot about the second season is there's like characters. Now you're getting some real story development beyond just the games.
Yeah.
They're like, one of the things I want to kick off this point with is Thanos, right? So here's this character.
That took me way longer than it should have. I thought you were talking Marvel for a second.
Oh, no.
I was like,
the real Thanos, which is funny because his character is kind of based off of and ripping off.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, look, purple hair, paints his nails. They have all the Infinity Stones. What's funny is here's a character that clearly has a drug problem. And the actor
Is that what that was?
wait, what?
Is that what it was? A drug problem?
Are you being
That's a joke. That's
okay?
a joke.
Okay.
It's it's okay.
So the dude's doing drugs on the during the games. He is playing a rapper that has a compromised reputation because they had a drug scandal.
Yep.
And what's ironic is the actor himself, who goes by the show name Top.
Yep.
He's a part of a band called the Big Bang or Big Bang, and it's a huge South Korean band. And in 2016, there was a drug scandal. He was arrested, and upon his release, he was released from the band, and he lost all of his advertising. So he was also running into financial issues, and he really just needed a reputation save. So he tried to compel, his way back into the limelight, into media, and nobody wanted him. He actually befriended Lee Jong-ji, who is 456, player 456. He actually in real life befriends this guy, and he is able to kind of exploit that relationship. And it's player 456, that actor, Lee Jong, who convinces the director to give him this part. Now, one of the stipulations was that he would do this part for free just because he is that desperate at redeeming himself. Now, I do believe after further down that road, he did end up getting paid. But what's interesting is, like I said, he had this whole career as a South Korean pop star.
Mhm.
And it's hilarious that what crushed his career was a drug scandal. I mean, what's funny is, he is the face of all of Squid Games 2 advertising, and he is nowhere to be seen in South Korean advertisements. And in fact, he is getting nothing but ridicule. They hate his performance. They wish they would remove him from the show or from the season. They want a different actor to do a stand-in to replace him in the scenes. That's how much ridicule and hate he's getting. And the wild part is, he's one of the best characters they introduced.
Oh, he's a Hall of Fame character.
An amazing element.
He's a Hall of Fame
Another
character.
thing, the carousel game.
Yep.
Not spoiling too much, but the carousel game, there's a scene where he's going around, he's high on Molly or whatever, and he's just this move right here apparently is like the bye of the Big Bang thing.
Oh, I love that.
And they are pissed.
Good.
They are pissed.
Good. I'm glad they're pissed, because I've never heard of your little band, but I've heard of Squid Game. Heard of Squid Game, and I've heard of Thanos, and I like him more.
Yeah, seriously.
No, it's good to hear that for him. No, he gave a great performance. Season 1, there was a wild card character. I love him as a wild card character more in season 2.
Yeah,
because it's such a fun element.
Oh my God! And
you don't know what he's going to do.
How about this? For the article titles to be exclaiming it numerous occasions as a disgrace.
Yeah,
it's like, this is one of the best elements of the show.
And you got to think, he probably befriended one of the most beloved. I don't know much, but I would assume player 456. I can never think of his actual name. He's probably the most.
Lee Jong-ji.
He's probably the most famous South Korean actor at the moment, other than the individual I'm dressed as.
True.
Because the individual I'm dressed as is a very famous actor in South Korea as well.
I didn't know that. Well, he's damn good looking. So does that surprise you?
We can get into that too. He's been in a lot of other really good movies that I think you would like, but like
what?
Train to Busan. It came out before Squid Game. Probably the best zombie movie I've ever watched.
Yo, you're right. I have heard of that.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of great things about it.
He's the main character. It's the best zombie movie ever. It's the most down to earth, realistic. It essentially treats it as oh, what'd you do on Tuesday? Go to the store? Yeah, zombie outbreak. Nothing big major, just I went to the store and shit got real. But it's done completely straight. He's fantastic in it. But player 456, you got to think, you have the most disgraced individual in South Korea, probably befriended one of the top 3 treasured people in South Korea, and he's like, I'll do your show for free. And he was like, sure, why not? Just for the articles to be like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, seriously. Which is wild. But piggybacking off of that, let's talk about the numbers. I mean, Squid Games dunked it right off the bat, which deservedly so. That show ending the way it did, it's a perfect show in in the window of itself.
Yeah.
To be able to expand that story, you kind of leave it on a cliffhanger, but honestly, in the direction you leave us hanging, you take it 180.
Yep.
Literally, that red hair
Mhm.
that you've been hanging on for 3 years, gone within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? That motive where you thought it was going to go one way, totally 180s,
Yep.
and yet it over delivers on your expectations. So, like I said, numbers rightfully so. What were the numbers? 126.2 million views in the first 11 days. What's interesting about that figure as it breaks records right off the crack of the bat,
Mhm.
apparently since then, the pace, probably because we're not trapped in our house. Go figure. We're allowed to meander a little bit this time. But they're worried because the pace is not while it broke the record, not at the same rate it was for season 1, where at 91 days, it was at 265 million views. What's interesting, though, as I say, they break these records right off the bat. It's this big, big show. It didn't stay in the leaderboard and Netflix top 10 list for long, just about 2 weeks. Didn't exceed to the third week. You want to know why? This was interesting to me, and I'm not a big WWE guy. Raw dethroned Netflix. I did not realize that Netflix agreed to pay $5 billion for the rights to show Raw and other WWE programming. So the other sad part about that, though, is only viewers outside of the United States will be able to watch all weekly shows, including SmackDown, NXT, and others. So on Netflix currently, because we're probably the heart of the market. So Netflix, again, is going to get the rights to the show, and what they'll be able to do is show Raw live, certain WWE programming, and have access to the archive.
Mhm.
So you'll be able to show old ones. That's crazy. $5 billion. And it's not like they could, like when Disney gets Marvel. You didn't acquire Marvel. You didn't acquire the WWE. You just got viewing rights to some of the shit.
Rights. Yeah.
To some of it.
Yeah. I mean,
wild.
Yeah. I'm sure the return on investment, the people punching those numbers were like, yeah, it's worth, couldn't be me. I'd rather watch Squid Game.
Yeah. Right.
But it's like we talked about a few weeks ago. It's like on the football show, the idea of like you're watching a cable TV show now on a streaming service with actual live commercials.
Yeah.
I guess live television doesn't matter anymore because it's coming to streaming.
Yeah, in a quite literal sense too. So you know what? With all that being said, before we go further down the Squid Games lane, I'm curious. With Silent all caught up, Silent, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I honestly love the second season. I know a lot of people couldn't stop comparing it to the first season, but you have to not do that because the first season is always going to be better than the second season.
Real talk. Because what I really liked, Will watched the second season and finished the second season before I even did.
Yeah.
And he goes, you really should rewatch the first season. There's going to be little bits that you don't remember, and it's worth it. Because
or at least watch the recap too.
Yeah.
They have a good recap in the beginning. Don't skip that. Watch the recap, definitely.
The first season in and of itself was such a high caliber that it rose to the level of like Breaking Bad, one of those shows you would watch again. Yeah. So when almost 5 years roll around, it's like, yeah, of course I'll rewatch it. It's been a while already, and it's not like I'm rewatching 12 seasons or 6 seasons like Breaking Bad. It's one season.
Yeah.
But then you rewatch it and you very quickly realize how much is packed in one season that you forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Like Will points out, the whole side story with the cop brother, dude, remembered none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that the first season they were able to convince the group to cancel the games.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious, 12 of those folks didn't come back. And the front man says, keep a close eye on them. What happened to them?
And they probably came back later.
You think?
Yeah. There's.
I would love that to be a reveal in this season. But the only reason I went on that quick tangent, Silent, I'm going to toss it to you, is this. I would be flabbergasted for there to be a dialogue, one, comparing this to the first season, but then to say it's anything close to worse than this. It soars over it. Why? Because I think it is carrying the momentum of the first one. It did not fail to continue the story. I didn't feel like I was going one way and now it's a totally different story. You had twists that made me go in an unexpected direction, but it was the same story in what I felt a very cohesive way. So for you to carry the momentum of this great story, and then for you to deliver on a cliffhanger behind every show, making me need the next episode just like the first season did, how could we say it didn't meet that expectation? All right, I flip it to you.
Yeah, I think people that compared it to the first season and said the first season was better just didn't understand the purpose of the second season, which was, like you said, it was a continuation of the first season. Of course, it's not going to be as good as the first season because that was the intro and that was where they build the foundation. And now the second season is where the building is slowly coming up and rising. And then obviously the third season would be the finale and the wrap up, because I don't think they're going to do a fourth season. They said the third one is going to be the final, but who knows? We shall see. Yeah, I love the second season. It was great. And like you said, there was a lot of things that they left cliffhanging in the first season that they connected and kind of like brought to light more in the second season. So you had to really have been paying attention to catch it. Because if you didn't, you probably missed it. Especially little details. I'm not going to say what, because I don't want to spoil. But my recommendation is at least either rewatch season 1, because like you said, it's been a long time, or watch the 1 minute or 2 minute recap at the beginning of season 2, because they recap season 1. Definitely at least watch that as a minimum so that you can kind of link better to season 2. Now, did they blue ball us? I think they did. Did they leave us with even more cliffhangers? They definitely did. But, you know, they knew exactly what they were doing with the second season, and they kind of like threw the ball in the air and they're waiting for the alley-oop where the season 3 is going to be the slam dunk. And I understand completely why they did it too, because season 3 is coming this year, by the way. There's not going to be a long wait.
Yeah,
they've already
June
confirmed it's
27th
coming
already.
this year. Yeah, they've already confirmed it. So looking forward
Well,
to
do
it.
you know why? Because they actually filmed one large season and the director had split it into 2.
Yep. That's why there's less episodes in this one too, by the way, in case you didn't notice.
Only like
There's
one less.
Yeah,
I
there's
think.
one less, but they did
Yeah.
like elongate some of the episodes. Some of the episodes are a little over an hour.
Yeah, there's
Exactly.
like over an hour.
I think like in
episode.
terms of like total minutes, it's like on par with season 1. It
Yeah.
just like doesn't
They just
seem
split
that way
it
because there is
differently.
one less. Yeah.
Yeah, they split it differently. Exactly.
Now, talking about the director, one of the things that I was going to get to earlier, and this is a good way to bring us back to that, is how the director even reluctantly did this film to be, or, you know, it feels like a film. It was so extensive, but this second season, he was reluctant to do it anyway because he created the first season as a full, complete story in and of itself. And he really didn't want to go any further. And everybody kind of knows about this story, but it's an interesting one and how money, as always, similar to the theme of this story, compels him to act.
I read that you were so stressed during the first series of Squid Game that you lost 6 teeth.
I think that 8 or 9 teeth.
8 or 9 teeth. Wow. And you were so stressed that you didn't want to do a second series.
Yes.
You were adamant. So why did you change your mind?
Money.
I love him.
지금 시스템에서
He's
시즌
real.
1만 해서는 사실은
He's real.
이렇게 빅 석세스를 거두었음에도 불구하고 경제적으로 이제 가져갈 수 있는 것이 사실은 뭐 없기 때문에 시즌 2를 해야 그 시즌 1의 성공에 대한 어떤 정도의 보상이 있기 때문에 뭐 그것도 사실은 큰 이유 중에 하나였어요.
He's
Yeah,
real.
I
love the realness.
appreciate-
I
first
love
off,
the realness. Yeah.
the guy's losing his teeth
Yeah.
and he's, you know, diving back in because of the money.
Mhm.
Come on, Doug's itching to jump back in.
Well, no, it was the same thing with Godfather Part 3. The Francis Ford, he didn't want to do Part 3, but he needed the money because every other film he had done had bombed, and he was losing money.
Yeah.
It's money talks in Hollywood, man, or in South Korea, I guess too.
And in the
Definitely.
Squid Games.
But
And
you
it's
know,
a good
it's just
game,
it's
yeah.
just funny to think like I looked in further too in the writer director of this story, and it was like he first created it in like 2012 or something like that,
Mhm.
and like for years nobody wanted to touch it because they didn't think it'd get much traction.
Wow.
And it was Netflix of all that like barely gave him any money to do the first season. And obviously, it was like a Stranger Things effect. Like within like weeks, it was like blowing up completely. And yeah, but you could definitely tell like Stranger Things too. Like it kind of ends on like a minor cliffhanger, but like you don't know if it needs another season or it would get another season. So I think the second season has far succeeded the second season of Stranger Things, if you ask me.
Well, I'm looking it up now. I'm curious what. Yeah. So again, we make it seem like he was given almost no budget, but the point I want to make is he was given 100 billion yuan, and every time I'm watching the show, I'm literally doing the
Actual
conversion. I
calculation.
Google
I'm doing
it,
the
yep.
conversion as they're doing it to see if it would tempt me at all. $54,000.
It's 30
and
million.
I could have died. It was like, nah. But as it kept going, it's like, okay, $500,000. Time to go, folks. And then it's like 3 million. When will you quit? So the budget being $21.4 million, that being 100 billion yuan or whatever it is. Let's be real, that's a huge budget. And, you know, he overspent. That's, you know, he was at a loss, but it shows.
Yeah.
Like those sets, the costume design, it is so extensive and superior. I think the awe factor of it all is what carried the
and
torch.
especially it's not like there's like hardly to any CGI. It's like actual authentically built sets. Like it feels like a real tangible place that's actually out there in the world.
Yes.
You know, like even still, like even though the show's done, it's like I like to think that there's an island that you could visit and it's like this is the actual set with everything, all the games and such.
Well, you making that point, can we have like a little kudos to you know, someone that doesn't probably get it, he probably might get it too much actually, but someone like Mr. Beast. I think he actually enhanced the fantasy and
Oh, yeah.
infatuation with this game.
Yeah. He was
by-
wearing that mask too.
Yeah, well, us VIPs, what can we say? But when you make it at such a grand scale in a very real way, it only kind of like enhances that fandom and the legacy of it all.
No, it really adds to the kind of cult following the show has. And by cult following, I mean it's like a mainstream thing, you know, but it's like I would love the idea of like you get seasons 1, 2, and 3 and there's no spinoffs. Like it's just this was it.
Right.
You know, like it's its own little unique thing, a moment in time, almost kind of like, for instance, like you finally got me into Fortnite, but like the idea of like Fortnite back in 2020, like you had to be there. Like that idea of like Modern Warfare 2 back in 2010, like you had to be there for that moment. Sure, you could still do it now, and it's still plenty of fun, and it's still great, but it's not in that exact moment when you first saw it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
groundbreaking,
describing this to other people, it's like this is a show that is going to evolve your audience viewership.
It'll broaden your taste
Yes.
for television and
Well
like
said.
just the art of what it is. Like groundbreaking is the perfect word for it because like if you were to say, hey, what's Squid Game like? It'd be like, it's its own thing, man. Like I could give you a summary of it, but like there's only like a handful of shows I've ever come across and movies my whole life that have come across me like that is so unique. I don't exactly know the words to describe it other than I'm just telling you what it is.
Right.
But like you experiencing it on your own is more worth it than me telling you it.
Right. No,
You know?
I totally agree with that. Now, the reality of this very fictional but compelling story toes a very heavy line, you know, where art mimics life and life mimics art. We have an interesting story concerning the Brothers' Home
What?
of 1986. Now, before I
What?
dive into the story, here's something that's very interesting. I just want to say, holy hell, was ChatGPT reluctant to flush out any details or assist me in my research about the Brothers' Home of 1986. Very peculiar. It was hard, but I did it on my own, and I have it for you. So, let me tell you about the Brothers' Home. The tragic history of the Brothers' Home serves as a potential real-life inspiration for the themes explored in Squid Games. I don't want to. Although Squid Game is a work of fiction, its portrayal of extreme financial desperation, human exploitation, and systems that dehumanize individuals in pursuit of profit shares some of the thematic elements from the history of institutions like the Brothers' Home. While Squid Game does not directly reference the Brothers' Home, there are clear parallels in the way both stories reflect the dark side of societal structures that treat people as commodities, particularly when it comes to people in vulnerable, marginalized, or desperate situations. The legacy and its reflection. The scandals surrounding the Brothers' Home served as a wake-up call for South Korea and led to reforms in welfare systems, though systemic issues continue to persist in various forms. The story of the Brothers' Home remains a grim reminder of the exploitation and neglect faced by vulnerable populations, and it resonates with the broader societal criticism found in works like The Squid Games. In summary, the Brothers' Home in the 1980s was an infamous example of exploitation masked as a welfare facility, paralleling Squid Game's critiques of societal systems that commodify human lives for profit, and it's likely that the story influenced the conceptualization of Squid Game's themes, even if it isn't directly the inspiration for the plot. The story of the Brothers' Home in South Korea, specifically from the 1980s, is indeed a deeply tragic one. The Brothers' Home was a welfare facility located in the outskirts of Seoul, South Korea, which became infamous for the abuse, neglect, and exploitation of its residents. The facility operated primarily as an orphanage or care home, but its operations, especially during the 1980s, were far from what one would expect from an institution meant to provide care. The facility's director, a man named Kim Seong-ji, ran the place in a highly exploitive and abusive manner, effectively turning it into a forced labor camp. While the facility was marketed as a welfare center, in reality, it became more of an internment facility. Many of the residents, including children and elderly people, were subjected to harsh conditions and forced labor. They were made to perform manual work, including farming and other labor-intensive tasks, under the supervision of the facility's staff. These individuals were often subjected to neglect, physical abuse, and inadequate care, with the goal of generating profits for the people running the facility rather than actually helping its residents. The dark truth behind the Brothers' Home came to light in 1987 when the authorities discovered the full extent of the abuse and exploitation. It was revealed that many of the residents were physically abused, neglected, and even malnourished. Some are reportedly confined to small rooms without adequate food or care, while others used as free labor, just as in these harsh conditions. Now, one of the things that I take away is that these stories were not exactly the same. However, the imagery from this place is so similar and it invokes the same emotion.
There was inspiration.
Oh,
Definitely
for
from this.
sure, right? I mean, look at these hallways.
Not only that, but just the fact that they're all dressed identically. They're all kind of staying in bunk beds, you know. They're all being lined up. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there's definitely an inspiration here.
And this became a fabric of the community, like a scar they carried.
That's probably why it's so famous there.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
I
this show.
the authorities uncovered mass graves of deceased residents who had died due to the poor conditions, and the facility's management had reportedly hidden these deaths. The scandal shocked the country and brought attention to the exploitation of vulnerable people, and in this welfare facility across South Korea. It was part of the broader issue of widespread neglect and mistreatment of the disadvantaged during this period. And mind you, I just want to remind you of kind of like what South Korea is going through currently. Like they just had their president impeached. There was mass protests going on across the country. I mean, look at this one.
Martial law was actually declared against its citizens. Yeah.
That president declared martial law in an attempt to save himself.
Yep.
South Korea court reissues arrest warrants for impeached President Yoon. I mean, they're gathering at his house.
That's 13 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a month or two ago now.
So South Korea has a whole litany of their own issues, and this was just kind of a corrupt symptom of it.
They have a litany of issues going on right now, and at the end of the day, Squid Game season 2.
Yay!
Come check us out. Thanos is in it.
But isn't that how all distractions work?
Oh yeah.
Like we have this political fiasco,
Oh, yeah.
but aren't you pissed? Top from Big Bang is playing this wild character that is disgracing our country on an international stage. Don't look at our president. Don't.
That doesn't even sound real. Top from Big Bang. It's like if you were an American, you'd be like, there was a character in Big Bang Theory named Top. He's in the Squid Game.
You know what's funny is in America, our heads go to the wrong place. You say that name and it's like, what is it, a rapper? What is it?
Dude, it said Top, and I thought you meant TIP. Like
Yeah.
T.I. I was like, no, that's the wrong guy.
Well, people are saying, I don't know what his name is. It's Top or T-O-P. And I'm just like, this is literally Tip.
Tip, tipper.
Tippy.
No, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then I heard that the United States wants to make its own version of Squid Game. It's like, fucking don't.
Yeah, don't. Just
Don't
like
touch it.
Black Mirror. Don't
Yeah,
ruin a good thing.
Don't, the only time you ever did that well was The Office.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Like
and it's
the only
because we took it from the buck-tooth horse people in the Brits,
Yeah.
the UK, the United Kingdom. Yeah, I said it on the internet. What are you going to come do? Extradite me? That's what they keep saying. All this week, they're like, if you make fun of us, we'll extradite you. Yeah, but I'm sure you'd make a great The Office show.
The UK, I just want you to know, it's the man in the bear mask that said it.
I identify as a golden tiger.
Oh, my bad. The golden tiger.
Nope. You said the bear. Look for the bear.
I mean, it's a great thing that this show came out, and that again, that's the beauty of Netflix and a lot of these streaming services, though, because otherwise you would never know about the show, right? It would never appear on FX or AMC during a weekday, every week drama show. This had to be a streaming. You could binge it all in one day, and you're goddamn right I did, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
Just mass information and media in one moment. 4 years ago, and then I didn't watch it for 4 years.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. Then I watched it again. I was like, oh yeah, that's why I liked it.
Silent, can you help us land this plane? What are your rapping thoughts on the good old Squid Game?
Yeah, first of all, those pictures were crazy, and the set of Squid Game was definitely inspired from those actual real life places. You could definitely see it, especially with the pink and the green and the white and all those colors too. And as for season 2, like I said before, I loved it. I think it was great. It felt like maybe it was a little too short, like I said, because of the rearrangement and how they made some episodes longer and then they cut an episode. But at the same time, I think it gave us enough to where it's going to set up a really good season 3. I'm hoping season 3 is as good
Big time.
as season 2, or at least we can have some sort of closure to the stories that they started building upon, and that's it. Maybe they'll build more, because like you guys said, the way season 2 started, I really thought that guy in the suit was going to
Final boss.
He was going to be more involved, as you will, because they obviously spent the whole, almost a whole episode looking for him. So I thought it was going to be and there was a lot of twists and turns. So obviously pay attention if you watch season 2. And like I said, definitely watch season 1 before you watch season 2, or at least watch the recap. But overall, it's great. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I can't wait for season 3. And I know for a fact that as long as they tie everything together, it'll be a great season.
And one of the things I do like you pointing out is pay attention to the little details, because God bless the human hive. There's so many clips coming out of
Tons.
details you actually naturally would not pick up on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nobody's picking up on that shit. But again, thank God for the
especially
human
when you're
hive.
reading subtitles, right?
Yeah.
If you're watching the subtitle version, you're gonna miss a lot of details. You will, because you're reading the subtitles. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm not doing that.
Dude,
I've played these games before. I just watch an American dub it. What do you got for me?
I absolutely love you bring up the subtle details. The amount of TikToks this man has sent me in the last week of Squid Game. A week of conspiracy, from like actual details to like conspiracies that the show might be discussing.
And they're great.
They are great. I'll be going to the bathroom and I'll be like scrolling through, learning more about Squiddy Boy. Like it is
Good old
insane.
Squiddy Boy.
And this season 2 came out and I immediately watched it. Like day 1, I was like, I need to watch it. I've been looking forward to it. I watched it all and I was like, you gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Just because it was like the first episode blew my freaking mind.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then
no, wait. See the character he's dressed up as? It literally blew his mind.
yeah,
Like
literally.
It
It was an insane first episode. Then the second, I was like, every episode ends on a cliffhanger to where next thing I remember the first time I started it, it was like we were going to work and I think it was like this came out 2 days after Christmas. It was like it was that Monday. We had the 31st off. Started at like 7 or 8. All of a sudden it's 11 o'clock and I'm like, I have to go to bed. Like I actually have to consciously telling myself, stop watching this show or you will be up and watch the whole thing. I would have done it. I would have spent my New Year's Eve doing that if we didn't go out. 100%. I would have been like, I'm watching a Game. 2025, bring it in. But when Silent was talking, I wanted to stop you. So you know how like the actual top, that guy, he has like some controversy going on. And it's like BS. It's like not a big deal. Like over here, it'd be like, oh, dude, like street cred now.
Yeah.
Like the guy who plays the front man actually has like a weird history. Like he genuinely got into like huge debt to like get out of debt. He blackmailed some girl who was like a decade or two younger than him and like with a relationship or something. Like she genuinely thought like she was gonna marry him. And then at the end he rug pulled her. Like genuinely look it up. He's like fine now. Like he's been married to the same woman for like 10, 15 years. This is like back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was like a famous like soap star. Okay. Like that's where he got his start, like in South Korea. I'm surprised you didn't come across that. I knew you'd come across the Thanos thing because I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, like they all can't stand this guy. But they love the frontman actor. And I literally saw an American like faceless account tweet about it. And I was like, what? And I looked into it. It is insane what this guy did. Like not supposedly did, like actually like over here it'd be like, oh, you're canceled for life. Like over here, that genuinely would have been like, oh, you're done for life. Like it blew my mind. Like it genuinely would have been like,
well, dude, that's the difference. They apparently care about like things differently than we do. I mean,
100%.
Like the drugs and alcohol thing, that just means you're famous in America.
Yeah.
So congratulations, you've made it.
Yeah. Like it's such a culture thing there too. But like I'm telling you, on your own free time, like don't do it now. Look up his like history from like 20 years ago. You'd be like, holy shit, dude. How did your career continue like after that?
Right.
And now he's like one of the most, like I said, like 4, 5, 6 is the most famous dude probably in that country. He's probably number 2.
Right.
Like they love his ass. But like 20 years ago, like this girl, and the girl was like, I'm telling you, like 2 decades younger. He like thought she was gonna get married, and like he like rug pulled her just because she was like loaded. She was like a socialite, I think. So like her family was loaded, like got him out of debt, and he was like, "No, I'm not marrying you." Like it was so bizarre, dude.
But that pop
all because of a tweet. I would never have known that. All because of a tweet I saw. I was like, that can't be. I literally read the tweet. I was like, that's not true. And then I Googled it and I was like, that's so true. It's ridiculous. It blew my mind, dude.
That's crazy. And again, one, we've had this conversation enough times on the show where you wonder what's the difference between separating the art from the artist. Like, can you still enjoy the art separate from the artist?
Thriller is still a top 5 album in this country. Yes, we can do it.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. But at the same time, like, you know, somebody goes, I can't listen to Michael Jackson anymore. It's like, yeah, well, I get it. So it's one of those, I don't think there's a right answer. No. Furthermore, God, Foster, stop.
Is it? Fortnite?
Fortnite?
Want to hop on Fortnite?
No. Wrapping the whole thought here with the Squid Games. What I like about it is I felt the second season delivered on my expectations beyond what I could have ever walked in anticipating. Beyond that, I think all of the media, criticism, whatever it is noise, and that's the whole goal. That's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Attention's attention. I got you talking about how mad we are about Thanos. We could really give a shit.
What is it? All press is good press?
All press is good press.
Yeah.
But I think this is a deserving show. I think looking at 2 seasons of House of Dragons comes out before we get the second season of Squid Games. Like literally we got the first one and the second one
And I think the quality of Squid Game is much better.
much better.
I'm not saying House of Dragon's a bad show by any
Right?
means,
That's
but
why
I'm
I bring
like,
it up.
Squid Game, really, like you said, it's like groundbreaking.
So if I can sit here and have a conversation about top shows, and one of the shows that carries the torch is Game of Thrones and or House of Dragons, this thing can sleep dormant for going on half a decade, and the day it wakes up, takes everybody by storm again, dominates.
Well, what really helped it too was how, like I'm telling you, like I told you, I'm like, you're gonna watch that first episode, and you were gonna be like, I have to start the second. Like it was crazy
But
how
every episode,
then
delivered on
followed
that
like
feeling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
Absolutely.
the whole season. It wasn't like they could have gone 4 years and you would have watched the first episode and been like, I don't care. No, by the end of it, I was like, that scene with me was one of the most, like, I was literally sitting back like, what is going to happen here?
Yeah.
Like, what is actually going to happen? Could not guess what was going to happen.
All right.
Edge of your seat thriller the entire season.
And, that's kind of where I might depart from Silent's position on it, because I think where I agree with the comment, where does it go from here? You really can't gauge it, but you have a very clear idea of every loose end, right? Like where this person is in location of this person, and any person that's finished the show is going to know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those that don't aren't.
Yeah.
But like there are people in different locations. There are different, and where the loose ends are left is very clear.
Oh,
How they'll be tied together, couldn't imagine it in any way, but it's going to, what I can assure is it will definitely be done in a fantastical way.
Well, here's the thing. It's like it's like you mentioned, like, I don't know where season 3 is going to go, but I have an idea. After season 1, I have like, what's season 2 going to be like? Couldn't really tell you. Like, funny enough, I didn't think they were going to jump 3 years.
But
That
again,
was
that's
my
what I
thought,
mean.
too.
But the major point when I talk about player 4, 5, 6, the way he ends, it's him, duffel bag of money, neon red hair, getting on a plane. He's literally getting on a plane. So he's either going to America to his daughter, which ends up being what he was going to do and then changes it. He's either getting on the plane for revenge. I'm hunting shit down. But there was a momentum with this red-haired character, duffel bag full of cash. We're going. And you took that same momentum and turned him around.
Yep.
Like he stayed in South Korea. He stayed where he was at, and the show pushed with the same, again, I'm going to use the same word, momentum of like what he's trying to accomplish, but again, in a totally different direction.
You got to think like the creators of like the Squid Game, they had no thought that the dude would use the money he won to be like, I'm finding you. I'm going to spend the rest of my life to find you with this stupid amount of money. And I love it. I love it too. Like when it shows like how much money he has left and he has hardly put a dent in it.
Yes.
It's like he's hardly put any money and he's got like this entire compound, all these weapons, all
the
this.
compound was the coolest.
Yeah. And it's just
Compound was sick.
you're like, yeah, why wouldn't he do that? Like if that's all it's cost so much, like he's got so much more. He could do this for another 30 years if he wanted to.
The pricing in South Korea is crazy.
Well, I want to make another point that somebody brought up. Flushing out season 1 is not a spoiler. You should definitely have done it.
If you haven't watched season 1 by now, sorry if this podcast ruins it. For you.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the friend, 456's friend, who like, the
it's
old
Buddy?
lady and like there's the old lady in the
From the
market,
first one, yes.
and it's her son. Rewatching it, totally forgot how much of a crooked piece of shit he was.
Yeah. He was
that guy sucked.
Yeah, he was a very morally corrupt person. And like
to the nth degree.
Yeah. But again, you got to think like the game of Squid Game is geared towards him.
Yes.
Like individuals like that. You could see how he would make it to the end and just be as cutthroat as can be.
Yes.
Because by his
he
standards,
sent his best friend into the umbrella line.
Yep.
The nice, whatever the guy's name, Taj
Ali.
Ali. He has Ali duped into just
Duped.
roaming the area
Yeah.
with
Mhm.
rocks in
And
his
again,
pocket.
I love the idea of the character. Like, he has a character too. He's morally corrupt and completely knows what he's doing is wrong. Like,
Mhm.
when I love it when he's like walking out of the arena after he screws Ali and he hears a gunshot and it says Ali's like
Yeah,
character
number
was
is
eliminated, and you see like he's not like proud. He's just more like,
Had to do it.
yeah, essentially, like, yeah, like I'm
Mhm.
in this environment. I know what I have to do. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm going to do it.
You know,
Whereas
keep it-
like 4, 5, 6, it's like everything. He's hesitant to the nth degree.
right.
To where even when he's playing with the old man, it's like he literally does it out of desperation. Like, I need to deceive you.
Well, and one of the things that I really liked, and that's what makes the show so amazing.
The writing is
it
very
is a
complex.
social reflection
Mhm.
on human nature. And so that's why, you know, I make the comment about how we're doing the translation of the money amount, because you're trying to see how deep it would
Is it
have to
actually
go to
worth it?
try to compel you.
Yeah.
Like how deep would it have to be to change your nature?
Mhm.
And one of the things that I've kind of resonated or just accepted is, I guarantee, so number 11, who's like the sniper who wears Doug's uniform with the circle
Oh, right,
triangle on
right.
her face.
The girl. Yes.
We learned through her that she's been holding that position for at least 7 years.
Right.
So there's been at least 7 seasons of this. As sick as it is, right? Because you're using people like lab rats and their lives are expendable for your science. But you would love to see 7 iterations of 456 human beings. How long does it take? Remember the night where in the first season, lights go off and finally people realize after the big brute guy beats a dude to death that I can just kill you.
Yeah.
And that accomplishes the
The game
goal
is
here.
always being played. It's never
Well,
over.
okay, so there's a seal there. And I imagine over the course of 7 years, the seal breaks at different points.
Right.
Some later, some sooner. And what's interesting is I would imagine it takes one instance like that. Someone dies in the cabin room. Because I think everybody's nature is we're not murderers. So like the murdering is only happening out there in the game. We come back. This is the safe place. You probably have, you know, sometimes it might go longer, but then somebody's sick and they end up dying and that triggers it.
And you
Or
gotta
there's a
think,
fight
too.
like this that triggers it. But the point I want to make is this. One, it would be interesting to see the different things that trigger it and how long it takes. Like this group, it took the longest. Why? What didn't transpire or what personalities were in there to create it? But then again, what makes this such an amazing show? This second season takes that whole humanistic thought experiment and takes it in a whole different thought process,
Mhm.
which is now we're changing it and we are announcing after every game, you have the ability to quit here and you can vote. And we are forcing a vote after every game. And we're putting a patch on every person to quite literally tribalize you quicker than any instinct would have naturally. Like comparing season 1, the creating of different teams and groups and tribes took longer than if after every match, we're putting you on a red and blue team.
Right.
People that want to stay, people that want to go. And again, a whole nother opportunity to sit back and ponder of like, this element, how much does it change the human nature? And clearly it would exacerbate or expedite this sadistic element of our nature. So what were you going to say?
Well, it's going off what you said too. It's like you got to think like in the first season, right? They didn't have the voting in between, but it's like at what point did they realize that like, oh, even if the game's not going on, we could reduce the number of players and increase our chances of winning. You use the word murder, and I love the idea, like not even the idea, but just the reality that when they're playing the game, they don't view it as like, oh, like I murdered this person.
Exactly.
All I did was beat him at a game. Whereas like when they're back at their bunks, it's like, oh, I'm actually committing an act that
Right.
in the real world it's a felony. I would go to jail for life, but not here. Money drops in the piggy bank.
Yes.
You know, so there is like, but again, then season 2, it's like you said, more tribal. You know, like why would I harm this individual when they voted in my direction?
Right.
When I could just go at that individual who didn't vote my direction. There's like the constant societal conversations being had through just the idea of like this one game is amazing. And it's just like written so well and so authentically. But you mentioned like, for instance, Player 11, she's only been there 7 years. In the first season, you might have missed it. Like they said, the games have been going on for like 40 years now.
Sure.
Like they've been going on even longer. I love the idea of like, what was Squid Games back like in the 1980s?
Dude,
like
we
they don't
know.
have the technology.
Brother's home.
Yeah, you know, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, it's kind of cool to see. Not cool. I
Wait,
guess,
that
like,
is crazy that if the show says 40 years, that's exactly when their historic scandal occurred.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's what like that's why when I said like it's in complete inspiration, it's like, no, I'm sure like what Chappie GPT told you is exactly what it was, but I'm sure like this must have been like a folk tale in South Korea. Like, oh, what was really going on when they were playing kids games for money? You know, only one winner. Since then, in reality, in the brother's house, there's actually only one person lived. You know, they're out there with a shit ton of money. You know, that's seriously probably how the inception of this game started,
Oh, yeah,
or
you're
like the
right.
show. Excuse me.
No, I totally agree. So Doug, any wrapping thoughts you got for us?
Let me put on my Squid Games outfit here. I already
Doug's over there dripping in sweat. Let me put my thing back on, man.
It's a little toasty under this vent. But I think it's hilarious that everyone hates that Thanos guy because I actually thought he was a funny character in the show.
I think he was a necessary character.
He was
Yeah.
a completely necessary.
And I think it's so funny that he's hated for drug stuff, and we already touched on that. Like, here, what celebrity doesn't have a sordid past of some kind, man? Like, find me one that's beloved that doesn't have a sordid past. So
That's
I don't know, but I feel like it's weird. It took forever for season 2 to
Never
come
seen
out.
it like that.
Took forever.
Hey, what's going on? And we're back. So let's transition into crazy old New York because they got it all figured out over there. So New York passed a transit tax, and if that isn't enough, they all took to the I'm not gonna say they all. A group of people took to the street. Wow, that mask was something. Mess up my hair.
Oh yeah, dude. I've never seen hat hair like that on you. That thing was like, it looked like it was drawn on. I was like, whoa, put it
I'm
back
looking at
on.
myself. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Why do you think I looked at you? I was like, put it back on.
put the mask back.
Put it back on.
Hey, so New York passes this transit tax, and the people, a group of people, took to the streets to celebrate.
It seems like it was shot in a skit. They counted down from 5 to celebrate this. Look at this. Look at this. They're celebrating a tax on individuals coming into the city.
Yeah, okay. That's New York for you. Celebrating a tax that's coming into the city. But while Doug's the one that pointed this out, he goes, literally, we're talking before the show about how we're going to talk about this topic. Doug goes, I'd love to know how many people they paid to be there to cheer for it. And it's like, I didn't even think of that. That's George Soros 4D chess. There is nobody that's cheering to pay $9 a day. But if I'm getting paid by the city of New York, I'll cheer for whatever you put on that sign.
It's such a like disgusting idea of like what a city is now.
Well,
You know,
and
like-
the sad balance to that is we're supposed to believe, just like they're not eating cats, when they tell us everybody's excited, then you get videos that are sweeping the internet like Nikki Scarletta here.
Congestion starts tomorrow. The speed cameras weren't enough. Inflation, the economy going up 80%, it wasn't enough. In New York now, you got to pay to go to fucking work. What's next? My panini's going to go from $10 to $18? Because that might be the final straw, my friends. Our governor, when was the last time you did anything for the tax-paying New Yorkers? In Staten Island alone, there was $25 million in speed ticket fines. Now you're charging people because they're going 35 and a fucking 30, but you can't pave the roads. Where is all this money going to? I really want to fucking know. If this goes up, I'll tell you something, you're in fucking trouble. All right, Kathy? Fucking Kathy?
Well, another thing that
Oh man. Now I want a
I
panini
have it ready.
sandwich.
But one of the other ones I had queued up, but just don't have ready for us today. There's a video of a New Yorker driving through the streets, and he's showing how like 3 lanes are closed for construction or transit or some production going on in the streets. And he's like, yeah, maybe if you didn't reduce every street to 1 lane instead of 4, we wouldn't have this congestion. On top of the ridiculousness of charging $9 a day for just your backbreaking workers that are carrying the city, right? These are the residents, and the only people that'll be affected are this is classism at its best. But then for the regular workers, now you're forcing them down into the sewer gutters that you call a subway.
Mhm.
And those things have turned into absolute shambles. Okay.
We've done multiple
guilty. What, Doug?
We've done multiple reaction channel series on the subway videos, man. Look them up. I mean, it's insane the stuff that goes on in that subway.
And that's just a part of the culture. That's just where we live now. Man pleads guilty to setting a woman on fire in New York City subway. New York's I want to save these ones. That's just a New York City desperately needs to hire more cops to combat subway crime, says ex-NYPD Bill Bratton. What do? NYC increase it today, the next day after that. NYC increasing police presence in transit system. Quote, people don't feel safe in our subways. Did you see now there's photos, all New Yorkers taking the subway are standing with their back against the wall. Everybody standing with their back against the wall because a psycho, and we're not allowed to even consider it being a hate crime, even though it fits the exact demographic it would if it was the other way around. But just another clean, cool cat that was this close to curing cancer climbs up because they're all, when they get what they deserve, there's always a mama that's been forgetting their kid that comes crying at the candlelight vigil saying how good their boy was. My boy was this close to curing cancer until that evil cop gave him what he got. That being said, that same cat.
Good money for you to do that with the mask on. I would have paid good fucking money for that, dude.
Yeah.
That was an all-timer with the mask on. That would have gone viral.
But you gotta love when that cat jumps the turnstile and immediately pushes an old man in front of the subway. Disgusting. It's one of the grossest things on the internet right now. Mm-hmm. There's a dude, same cat, same, not the same, but the same, with a fire extinguisher, walks into the subway, lights off, like on the train, lights off the fire extinguisher, and then takes a step off and the doors close. Babies and strollers and everything else. There's there's videos of guys just going and like trying to make people flinch, and everybody is sitting there petrified. Why? Because something we've consciously neglected discussing on this show. And Silent, I don't know if this is foreign to you or not, so I'm going to actually bring you in because I would be curious. Are you at all familiar with the Daniel Penny case?
I think we discussed it a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah,
we did, yes.
Okay, so briefly we did. Yeah, you know what? We did. So the Daniel Penny case.
We're topical here. We're going to touch on things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But this being a beacon story for really what these blue cities have become. Somebody high on crack starts physically hurting people on the subway. Somebody with a military background intervenes and tries to subdue him by choking him. Turns out, with the struggle, he ends up accidentally unaliving the person. Mm-hmm. And every single person, no matter the demographic box they check, is exclaiming how thankful they were that that man was on the train and how that he saved the whole train of people. And yet he's the most villainized person in America right now. And as a result, people are petrified to intervene. I've told you the story that I also saw the past week of a guy with just a potato peeler.
Yeah.
Just
Ooh,
shing,
God.
shing, 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 shing. That's the world you want to live in. So not only are you pushing the lower income members of New York in there as you fail to take care of it, but we're also talking about a deeply rat-infested city. The whole place.
Literally.
There are more rats than people. NYC's rat problem is so bad, it's holding a summit of vermin experts to, quote, know the enemy. What transpires from something so spectacular? Well, the new... where is it at? The next frontier in New York's war on rats. Birth control. Oh, yeah, you want to take a guess at what the brilliant plan of the Blue City? Just grind up birth control. You just sprinkle it around like it's salt in the middle of winter.
Hey, my body, my choice.
Yeah, don't those
In New
rats
York,
have
our
a choice?
rats our choice.
Don't those rats have a choice on their contraception?
Pitch perfect voice for it. Hey, you know, some I guess your sewers are both rats and Hasidic. So what can you say? What can you say, man? It's an infestation. I don't know.
The Jews are just running under New York and they're like, why can't we get anybody pregnant?
Dude, the jokes write themselves. Like, this is like, I'm just saying, that city is just an infestation of jokes now. And they all hate Trump. Like, that's the next thing. They all have the same opinion of that guy.
As he was like one of the strongest philanthropists in that city.
Him and Giuliani. I hate them both.
Hate them both.
We have an infestation problem.
He obliterates the crime, right? Okay.
Stop and
Giuliani
frisk.
walks in, greatest mayor, the world, America's mayor.
Yeah.
Walks in, obliterates crime in the highest crime city in the world, in our country. And when he leaves, the mayor's like the one that says, we're going to bring the spirit of New York back in the middle of the pandemic. And it's just men in latex, just dancing. And it's like, you're still not allowed outside.
God, I remember that. Holy shit. It took me. I was thinking.
Who would have thought those guys would have taken them back?
I was thinking of Stephen Colbert when he had like them all dancing on television. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, no. That New York did that.
Yeah.
They did it bigger. Oh my God.
Yeah, who would have thought they would have taken the city, I don't know, back a couple steps?
Wow. Moment in time. Once again, groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking. New York. You know, get the ventilators.
So you've briefly watched episodes of The Sopranos, and I love the idea of like, again, it's not New York, it's New Jersey, but the New Jersey Turnpike. Like, he just like that's the opening to the show. That's the theme. It's like he's driving down the New Jersey Turnpike and then through New Jersey, and I'm just like, I was like, well, good thing they stayed over there because you can't go that way. It's $9.
Well, yeah, that's to kind of circle this back a little bit. Those are the people getting really screwed over. The people who live in New Jersey drive into New York. So driving in New York, they're already paying the New Jersey toll. You know, they're paying to take the tunnel or bridges into New York. They're paying for their daily, weekly, monthly parking, whatever, how they have that. And now you're going to charge them for literally just driving to work. I mean, it's insane that those people who are already paying an absurd amount just to drive into work are having to now pay more.
They're paying a certain amount of money just to live there, let alone drive to work.
Well, I wish I had it
crazy.
ready for us, and it's in the thumbnail. It's in our promo picture on our Instagram. But if you look, there is a photo out there. I tried getting it quickly, but I couldn't. The city council representatives are standing in front of a podium on the freeway in front of the entrance to New York on the side of New Jersey. And the podium sign quite literally says, "Stay away, New Jersey." I'd be pretty pissed.
God.
And the pretentiousness you know, there's all the burbs or what the burgs. What do they call them?
Burbs.
The boroughs.
The boroughs. There's the New York boroughs, and there's
Brooklyn
this
borough
elitist
and Queens.
status, like classism in New York, and for all of them to be all like hierarchical amongst themselves, they still all in unison spit down on New Jersey. But as Doug indicates, that's pretty much where all the help and workforce comes from, and they're like, charge them more. Get it from the plebes.
They're talking like that and then going to their $2,000 studio apartment.
Yeah, I didn't know. No. They're $2 million 2-room apartment.
Gotta love New York. Dude, I've never visited that city, and now I've never wanted to visit it less.
I mean, I did want to visit it, but now I don't really want to because the cost of getting around is probably going to just increase.
Dude,
for
I
everything.
love our Jewish friend Doug.
I love
The second it costs more money, he's like, you know what? I would have anticipated there was a toll there already.
Hey,
Now there's a double toll.
They already tax you for a large soda or a large fry or putting salt on stuff, man. They want to tax you for everything in New
And
York.
Doug is not going to New York without a big gulp and extra salt.
Damn right.
Doug,
This is
just-
America.
Doug, the way you said that just afterwards, we should have just been like, womp womp.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait.
That's Doug driving to New York.
It's such a dumb thing. Like, who literally you paid New Yorkers to be happy about this? Like, who? The rest of the country.
Wait.
We
Hold
already
on.
hate
No,
New York.
I want to be very clear. I don't know that to be true.
Yeah,
I don't know that to be
No,
true.
we don't know that
But
to be
here's
true.
what's funny. Doug tosses that out, and that's so in vain with just the city of New York, let alone the representatives and Democrats, that the second you hear that as a theory,
As a thought, yeah.
it's almost entirely internalized because it's so on brand.
Yeah, well,
You're like, because who in their right mind is like the ball dropping on New Year's Eve, counting down to the release of the sign that's telling you have to pay a $9 toll. 5, 4, 3. You gotta pay me to do that.
yeah, they also shit their pants while standing for it. That's New York for you.
Yeah, dude. I don't want to walk down there.
Dude, the only authentic part of New York are Yankees fans because God knows nobody wants to be that outside of New York. It's the only authentic part about that city is the
It's so
Yankees
true.
fans.
It's so true.
Because it's like, yeah, sure. They will let you know. I love my Yankees. That's not a New York accent at all. But fuck it.
I love Anyway, I was gonna try. I'm not. Gonna
Oh, wait,
try.
real quick, too. We're talking about New York sports right now, bringing up the Yankees. Don't the 2 New York football teams actually play in New Jersey? So
Yeah,
they want to
they do.
rip on Jersey, man.
Yeah, they do. Poor Aaron Rodgers has to pay
Wait,
$9
Doug. This is what
now.
you forget. It doesn't cost them any money to go there. We'll go to your shit bin, but if you want to come to my palace,
Dude,
gotta be $9.
I love knowing that Jets fans go to that game, then after watching that shit franchise lose a game, now have to pay $9 to go back
Just
home.
to go home.
Justice.
Yes.
Justice. Dude, I don't have to pay $1 to watch my dog shit franchise lose. I just do it from my couch, and I love it.
Dog pound. Woo woo.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Never mind. I love this tax. Keep it going. Increase it, man.
How bad you want to see Aaron Rodgers?
I want it to be 2 Chipotle burritos next year.
That probably is already the price of oh wait, no, forgot. It's probably super expensive for a burrito in New York. So give it another year, it'll go up to probably $18.
They got that big gulp tax, man. Like, it's going to screw them.
Doug's debating. He's torn. He's wanted to go. The rats and the stabbings don't turn him away. But the second it's $9, I'm a double think it. Now
Well, I wouldn't even take the subway. After all the videos you've made me watch with you, Alex, I'm not sure I'd ever take the subway in New York. I would Uber.
you guys want to hear a really funny story?
Sure.
New York subway. I am probably 13. Makes my sister 10. And the iPhone is not out. My parents have like Nikon flip phones.
Yeah.
We're on the subway. And this was something my dad was really good at. It was probably like the 3rd vacation in a row where he's managed to do this. First was on the Grinch ride in Universal. But we get up and we get off the subway, and my mom looks back on the subway and sees the cell phone sitting on the seat, okay? And she also sees what she would describe as sketchy-looking figures sitting in the seats adjacent to the phone. Mom jumps back on the subway to grab the phone, turns, door closes, and she's standing there with her phone, Dad's phone, Dad and kids on the other side. And then she just goes away. Now, you may not have an emergency plan like in this situation with your family, but this is a good opportunity to talk it out because we didn't have that opportunity. And Dad thought, we're getting on the next train. We're getting on the next train. We're going after her. What did Mom do? I'm getting off, getting on that train and going back. So it turned into a good while of no, and how do we get a hold of Mom? You don't. So after a good while of punching in the dark.
Wait, you guys didn't ask someone for like to use their phone?
Or go to a payphone, which was still a thing back then?
You're also in the subway. There is no service in the subway.
Payphone.
Okay.
That's true.
So
Okay, I'll give
you have to get up and outside to call, which we did try. But when we called, she's on the subway.
Yeah.
So we're playing the game, hoobity-ba, and then finally, Dad goes, all right, I hope she's got her wits about her because we were going to Chinatown. We might as well just go to Chinatown and hope she's there.
I love your father.
So we go to Chinatown, and we find in, like, the huts of knocked off purses, there's Mom just shopping. She's like, I tried. It was an hour and a half. I gave up. I thought you'd find me eventually. And you did.
Oh, my God.
I can picture your mom shopping at the purses,
Dude,
just being like, oh, hey, there you are.
Was your sister crying?
Oh, that happened. Oh, yeah. Emergency. I was like, we got an adventure.
you were so, at 13, you were so glass half full. You're like, fuck it, I'm out. Let's have a day.
I am in New York.
Yeah.
That black guy had a pillowcase of knockoff CDs. I have or DVDs. Dude, the highlight was like all of the, like they had the purses and the watches, but then there was the guy with a bed sheet just of DVDs. And you're like, oh my God, you have Sky High? That's in theaters right now.
You have Sky High, and then you buy it, some Indian knockoff.
No, here's the problem. It was a grab bag. About 50% of the DVDs I walked home with, solid. Made out like a bandit. Went back to school, was like, guess what I got? The other half were like camcorders in the theater filmed. No bueno.
That was your favorite part about New York at 13?
No, that's just a very real experience of the subway.
Okay. Yeah,
Now,
I don't think I need to go.
Yeah, exactly. No. I got everything I needed. And it is as scary as you think it is down there. Like, it is what you have in your head, that's it. And you're like, hey, they just said they're increasing police presence. There's got to be people there to hold down the fort. No. And the ones that are like
Paul Blart.
They've got a donut, and they're like,
you know what's funny is you mentioned not seeing cops. My cousin got a ticket and had a court day in Chicago because he hopped the turnstile because he saw 5 people before him do it, and his phone was dead, which he uses for like his RTA pass there. And he got arrested. 5 people before him did it. He did it. Finally, there's actually a cop there doing their job. So it's like Chicago, but not many cops there, but they will get you eventually.
This is the only thing I want to see in my subway. Right here. All I want to see.
If I see people playing that, I'm going over to the guy saying, can I play and get some money?
I don't want.
Doug, are you really? Doug, are you really?
Yeah, I want to try and win.
Do you
win
think
some money?
Doug could play and or survive?
Oh, no, not
Depends
play
on
the
the
actual
game.
Squid Games. Play
Then
the
what
game
do
on
you
the
do?
subway.
What?
He just wants to play the Yoki.
Yeah. He walks over and he's like, the guy's like, now you come with me. He's like, oh, no.
Guy
I
would
just wanted
hand
to play
Doug
the
the card.
pay-per-view.
Doug be like, huh? Shh. Just walks away.
I've seen this one before. Nope.
Can't get me gay thoughts. You know, rip it up.
All right.
That's great.
I've been itching to make this transition here. because the next topic, we Americans are going to be pondering about Canadian politics and social
For
talk.
once.
I think it's appropriate to finally bring in Silent Destroyer to get his thoughts from the outside looking in on the chaos we've got brewing in one of our biggest cities.
Yeah, the New York tax is wild because, look, if the subway in New York was actually, like you guys said, policed well and safe, then I get it. They're kind of pushing you to go to the subway, which is probably much more efficient and much cheaper for you in the long run, and for the environment and for everybody else because your car is off the street. But that's the thing, New York. You guys put a tax, but you didn't fix your subway. You didn't police the subway. You didn't upgrade the infrastructure. It's like you guys are way too early. Build the subway, build the new tracks, extend them, fix the trains, police the subway, fix the crime that's going on in the subway. And then maybe people wouldn't even be mad about paying the taxes, and they'll probably just take the subway instead of paying the taxes.
Dude, that's a great point. The order was all off.
Exactly, right? Because here's the thing. Congestion taxes work. They do deter people from bringing their car to the city. But you have to give the people an option, right? You have to give the people an option, an alternative to get into the city. And if the option is, ride this falling infrastructure subway that hasn't been upgraded since the 80s, and it's full of rats and crime, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to pay the $9. I'm going to drive into the city. You know, it's like, it's a no-brainer. And then, like you said, this further pushes the classism. Because if you're rich and making multiple six figures in New York, you don't care about $9. But if you're making $40,000 or $20,000 bussing tables at a restaurant in Manhattan or New York, that $9 is going to add up. That's a lot of money. You know, that's a lot of money, and it's going to hurt you, and you're going to feel it, especially in this economic times and with inflation and all that. And I think New York had they had the right intention. Right? Don't get me wrong. The intention was right, I would think, at least, because like I said, the congestion taxes do work. Like in London, but obviously London has a way better tube system than New York because it's not, falling apart. And it's reliable too and on time, unlike the one in New York. And I think that's where the New York City government just failed. Like way too early, guys.
Will just did the math. He's
subways.
showing me $2,300 a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot for somebody that's making 35.
If you're making 30, 40 grand, yeah, like that's a lot. That's like almost a month's salary,
That's insane, dude.
It's nuts. No, it's nuts. Honestly, it's gatekeeping. They're gatekeeping the city. That's what that is.
They're gatekeeping.
Exactly.
They're gatekeeping the city,
And what I can appreciate is I like how you kind of have this very optimistic description of it. They sell the people on how this has a positive climate effect. And here's where the rubber meets the road. And this is why I fail to have as much enthusiasm as you bring. Because we face these instances before. And when it gets brought up of, well, if it works, right? Like if it relieves the pressure and, if it has an impact on the climate and it's easier to get to work and there's not all this unnecessary traffic. But guess what? The problem is when you implement these things and you don't get the intended result, like traffic isn't affected or the falsehood of global warming is not impacted at all, then you have implemented this thing that you can't get rid of. Now it is a part of your fabric. It didn't get you the results you wanted, and you're stuck with it. So much of this is Democrat cities will focus on passing things and creating policies with a fantastical intention, and then they're always flabbergasted and shocked that it never delivers. Well, what do you mean? You still had to wait 40 minutes to get to work? Well, shit, I got $1 million. Now, the sad part is, like Doug said, we're talking about this classism piece, Silent. There's another impact of this isn't a specific class because even a lot of these people have separate careers and this is just side cash. But now you're attacking a literal industry. How is something like DoorDash going to work for a New Jersey kid that's now on the island, off the island, on the island, off the island? And holy shit, everything I just made on DoorDash, I gave to the city of New York.
Let alone that, just like DoorDash, Uber,
Yeah.
all
Right.
those like rideshare
Mhm.
apps. Yeah.
That
bingo.
the
Uber.
tax is it $9 per day, meaning like you can come and go throughout that day, you've paid it once, or is it
I
per
hope-
time?
Well, they're saying $9 a day because that's the entrance.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's like
They're assuming you're
there's
not going
the
down.
math. All of the discussion is the assumption that you're going in, you're working, and you're coming
And you're
home.
coming
So
out.
it's
Yeah.
really screwing over the DoorDash, the Ubers.
Oh, it's killing a
all
whole
those
entire
people.
industry.
Amazon deliveries too, right? The good old 1 hour Amazon that's
Oh
available.
no,
in New York
I'm
City.
sure they'll
I'm
get
sure.
some government
Yeah, yeah,
They're
tax.
exempt.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
they-
sure.
Amazon is exempt.
How
always.
dare you open up that package?
This place is crazy. Silent, any wrapping thoughts on the whole deal before we get to your place?
Yeah, look, again, like I said, New York just messed up. If they were to actually implement this and actually deter people to use the subway, guys, fix the subway. You guys didn't fix the subway. This is clearly just a money grab at this point, and it's so obvious. You guys didn't even try to hide it. That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. Because had they fixed the subways first, cleaned them up, removed the rats, removed the crime, secured them, made them safe and sound and reliable, and upgraded the infrastructure, and then implemented this tax, I don't think as many people would be as mad as they are currently.
I think you're 100% right. And the sad part is they think they accomplished something. I'd be disgusted, but also not surprised if we found out what I think is idiotic New Yorkers cheering for a tax is probably just paid actors. And all of this is just a major reflection on an imploding city. To go from being the epicenter of the country, one of the most glorious places the world fawned over, and now you're a dump. You're dangerous, and people are afraid to associate with you. The fact that 3 months ago, Doug was dying to coordinate a content media experience connecting with Silent in New York City. Doug's never been. You got to check it off the list. Man, I could stand in the background of the Today Show. And now it's like, I don't want to go within a state of that place.
I might get touched in the back of the Today Show.
I don't really want to give them my
I
hard-earned
might get
dollars.
locked in an office at the Today Show.
Boy.
Matt Lauer effect.
I mean,
Now-
Alex, you gave me this little remote. Should I be worried about why you have a remote?
oh yeah,
know?
you can't leave, Doug.
No.
Ready to play a game?
No.
So I guess wrapping my thought, you've got New York as a city has so many other problems to deal with. You're going to be bestowed with a dump of cash. And is it going to solve your homeless rat finance issue? Anything? No. All of it will still be just as shitty, if not shittier. And your politicians will be more comfortable. That's for sure. What are your wrapping thoughts?
I just love watching this city burn to the ground, literally. Like, the longer this goes on, the more and more, especially ever since the whole Cuomo. Honestly, the breaking point for me was the Cuomo COVID thing.
Yes.
That was the breaking point for me with New York. I do not care for that city. I think that city has such an
for you.
elitist attitude, like, and all. At the biggest thing too, at the end of the day, fucking Yankees. Like, it's like from top to bottom, I cannot stand that city, what it stands for, and the way, like you said, it used to be a central hub of the United States. It used to be the place to be outside of West Coast Hollywood, which is a whole other discussion. Both at the same end results. Could not care less about either of them.
Boom. And they're actually a toxic cancer in our society.
Yeah, like I'm actually harming the country at this point.
Yeah.
And preaching as if we are the gold standard still. And that's the thing. That's like the most frustrating part. Like, your average New Yorker would have no idea what your typical Midwestern to Southern American would have in common. They look at them and be like, you're all animals. Like, we're all looking like Florida Man. Remember that used to be a thing? I don't even hear about that
Oh,
no
yeah.
more.
Florida Man's hilarious.
But like, when was the last time you actively heard of consistently of like Florida Man shit going on? No, it's New York subway.
Yeah.
That's it
now
now.
it's that.
You've been taken over. And like, it probably was like that back then too. Florida was just funny because that was so random and it was less harmful.
Yeah. Right.
This is like,
well, it was less systemic. Like,
was
some
completely
rogue alligator hunter doing some wild shit in his backyard is so different than your whole
A
populace.
man in the bayou acting out and crashing out is completely different than like every day 30 people on the subway are crashing out and 6 of them died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not the people crashing out. The upstanding citizens just trying to get to work or home, standing around the people crashing out.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I don't view Florida as a dangerous place. I just view the people there as like, yeah, they kind of wild out. But like, I guess that's what you do when it's 80 degrees every day. I genuinely view like the subways as like I've never been in New York, but it's like that. I would never go underground. I would never go underground. This last year has taught me that there aren't just rats down there. And there's a lot of shit going on down there. And I don't want to be near none of it. I just don't. Like, I don't.
Dude, that was like the first month of 2024.
That's what I mean.
Just
like,
kicking off the year.
Yeah, it's kicking off the year. Look what's coming up from the ground. They got an infestation. And then you look at what the infestation is, and you're like, wow.
I knew they ran New
That
York.
is, that is wild, dude. I look at the homeless in Cleveland sometime and be like, man, pull it together. Like there, it's like, you guys are fine. You guys are fine. Stay outside of the jack. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to give you nothing, but like, not harming nobody.
Right.
You don't hear about them harming people. There, it's like free game.
Free game.
Free game. And then at the end of the day, they let them out of jail.
Yeah.
Let them out.
Oh, dude. That's one of the stats I had here. So people pushed in front of chains. Lady lit on fire. Dude let out of prison after 87 prior arrests. Immediately goes and stabs 2 people on the train.
Why not? Fuck it. He was late. He had to be somewhere. I forgive him. Let him back out. Who cares?
He's just a classic New Yorker. 87 times he showed he was a New Yorker.
First pitch is at 7:09. I got to get there in time. Like, who cares? Like, that's what that state has done now. Like, I'm past it.
Yes.
I love watching it burn to the ground. Like you said, like they had Giuliani, they had Trump. It was the central hub of America. Now it is a laughing stock. And the best part is they look at you and be like, your place sucks. And it's like,
Ohio Riz, man.
you're like, you're right, it does. It sucks here.
I want to stay.
Don't come here. It sucks so bad here. It's ridiculous.
I love that.
That's it.
Doug, wrapping thought.
I just gotta love that. Like we're watching that video. My first thought is, man, they had to have paid people to be there because who the hell, like, just say we don't know that for sure. But like that was my first thought because who cheers for a tax? No one goes, yes, tax me, government. Yeah.
I love that being Doug's point. Please internalize that as we transition to this next topic here. I am going to show you a brief clip of people actually celebrating, and you can tell human beings celebrating from paid actors. You look at this, you go, that's our people. That's people. Now, again, just keep that in the back of the mind as we get into this topic. Final topic here. This is a spicy one, and I couldn't be more excited to have Silent joining us as we break it down. Justin Trudeau resigns as Prime Minister of Canada. He's not, I'm leaving the party, I'm leaving the position, and I'm trying to leave the place with its best opportunity to move forward. Let's check it out.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
I would love to know what the real internal battles are. But Silent, kick it off the dialogue for us. What are your thoughts? This is your hometown.
Actually, Silent, before you speak, I just want to know when you got the notification, what was the first thing you did?
Okay, so a lot of people messaged me. Specifically, a lot of my American friends messaged me about this, like immediately when it happened.
I think because we were excited for you.
You were the first thing I thought of, honestly.
Right, and
should we not have been?
I burst their bubble. You should not have been because this doesn't matter, right? This really doesn't matter because until the elections are actually formed in either March or in October, all of this is just smoke and mirrors. Like he's still here. He still can make decisions. until the Liberal Party actually elects someone to replace him, then he's kind of like actually resigned.
Wait, Silent. So does it have to be March or October? Because I know they can move the election, but are those the only 2 times?
Yes, but listen to what he said closely, right? He said, I'm resigning, and until my party compete and choose a new leader, right? The reason why he said that is because that suspends Parliament. So Parliament cannot, that means he did this to save his ass, right? And how he saved his ass is that if Parliament is suspended, they can't do a no confidence vote immediately in March when Parliament resumed because Parliament is suspended, right?
Wow.
So that's why this kind of like, you know.
So
it
let
means
me ask you
nothing,
this,
you know?
because I do want to further flush out Will's inquiry, right? So he goes, were you excited, or was this? And then I kind of changed it and go, was it a good thing? You're like,
Right.
it isn't really a good thing because it doesn't count yet. So let me further ask Will's point in a different way. If this was an announcement that truly resulted in what it implies, which is he's leaving and he's gone and we're moving on to the next step, would that be something that excites you? Or would you go, no, actually, I think we were better off with him at the helm? Because like our end of the narrative, we're very critical of him, his party, his policies, and we don't really get to see behind that veil for you. And I'm curious how you view it. Is it, I don't like a lot of these things, but he was a good head of state. I don't know. What was your thought if it resulted in what it implied?
Justin Trudeau and the prime minister that was a conservative before him, Stephen Harper, when he took over in 2015, both of those parties have been sold as servants of big oligopoly companies that have been running this country for the past 4 or 5 decades. That's the reality of Canada. The fact that Canadians actually think that a new prime minister, whether conservative or liberal or NDP or any of the parties for that matter, is actually going to solve our issues is laughable to me. Because if you've actually been paying attention, this country's been sold to corporations and companies a long time ago. And it's probably going to remain that way for a much longer time. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. It's a big reason why myself, I'm not political, right? I don't vote. I don't participate in any of the smoke and mirrors or any of the clown show that is our parliament or our elections. Because again, all of these people serve our oligopolies and monopolies. They don't serve the people of Canada. They haven't for decades. And just the policies that they push in Parliament, the laws that they change, the tax grabs that they do, it just tells you everything you need to know. You just have to pay attention and see it, really.
It sounds and feels like you're calling for something that truly could never be accomplished for you until and when you become the 51st state. Just saying. Now,
look,
I do want...
The idea of the 51st state is nice, but the War of 1812 happened for a reason, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, because you're under the control of a powerful country, which you no longer are.
Kind of are, though. They still they like hold some special baton that signifies that they're like, bestowed with the authority of the crown. Like,
but
they
Britain
still
Britain wouldn't lift a finger for you, though, Silent. I don't
Britain
think
wouldn't
they
lift a finger for anybody.
No, they don't. Of course not.
They're
Because
lifting fingers to throw in jail their own people.
I'm like, they're not lifting fingers for anybody if something went down.
Look, if we were to actually make North America powerful, Canada becoming a 51st state won't be the move. You want to know what's the move, in my opinion? A freedom of movement. Just like in the EU, except between Canada, between Canada and US. Now, hear me out. Why does the US want Canada as a 51st state? Let's discuss
we
this.
Don't.
If you guys
I think that was
exactly
a peacock moment by Trump.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
We could,
exactly.
and it would only enhance your life.
Yeah.
Because
it wouldn't enhance ours at all.
Exactly.
I'm curious what that would do to the GDP of this country, though.
The only good reason or positive for freedom of movement / Canada becoming 51st state is the following. There'll be more international water territory for the US, which is huge for security, right? especially up north where you're closer to Russia and China.
Oh yeah,
right?
oil.
So
I was thinking oil. That's
there's a
one of the ones.
lot of resources up north, a lot untapped, just waiting for you to come drill, baby.
Drill, baby.
There's
drill.
also that, right?
That's also why we want
Joe
to
Biden
make.
fracks.
That's
Joe
also why
Biden
we want to
fracks.
acquire Greenland because of the security of the Arctic and everything. We don't need
Right.
you. We need Greenland more than anything.
Right, but in reality, look, in reality, this will never happen. Like, all jokes aside, like you guys said, it's just Trump like shit posting on Trudeau. That's really what it is in reality, because we're two of the biggest allies, and I don't think it's gonna go down to the point to where, okay, we're we've been allies for centuries, but now we're gonna try to acquire each other. Like, that's just not reality. It just doesn't work that way. But like I said, if we were to hypothetically be acquired, of course, the Canadians would be benefiting. The average Canadian citizen would be benefiting a lot more than the average American citizen. But the American government would be benefiting a lot more than the Canadian government would be. Because like I said, there is a lot of resources here that are not being tapped in Canada because of, the environment, or, taxes, or, it costs too much money. We don't have the money to go up there and drill, But guess what? You become the 51st state, or you make some sort of freedom of movement where it becomes even easier to live and work and invest in Canada and as an American, and live and work and invest in the US as a Canadian, then you're opening up a lot of doors that have been closed for a while for a lot of people. So
I can hear that perspective. I don't know if this might be news to you, but we currently have a real issue with inner transit of people and their inability to get the F out and leave.
Yes,
so
of course.
that isn't going to happen. That's a fantastical thought, but really that kind of already does happen with Canada. Like, there's almost a null border going north, and really the only person enforcing the border is Canada. In fact, it's you guys that don't want any of our riffraff getting into you. But there's plenty of space all across Montana and the western side of the continent where it's just open. It's just open. It's just woods. And in fact, we have more than blind confidence that you're not going to traverse it. If you haven't noticed, I brought out an old classic from 2020, the Joe Biden Frax tees. These were a Rethink Tank classic. Part of it was trolling the fact that this dude was going to Pennsylvania saying, "Oh, I'm a frack baby frack," and then he's going to Chicago and he's like, "I'm getting rid of that for those dummies." I don't know what they're thinking. And so we sold these shirts because all the Democrats were like, "We love it because it's cute and funny," and the conservatives loved it because they were like, "He's got you fooled. He actually does frack. Like he wants to frack the shit out of this place." So, here's the thing. Finalizing the Canada relationship with America thing, with Will's point, I totally agree. It was more of just kind of like a cute little internet troll.
It's peacock.
Yeah. That's a peacock. 100%. It really is.
No.
It's very obvious.
But
Let me put it on
I
the
want
table.
to, yes,
Let me
100%.
put it on the table, Justin.
But let me also concede. My concession is going to be that I have an American bias, right? That shouldn't surprise the dialogue here. So conceding that I definitely have a bias, I also want to concede that I fail to see, because I also have this unique perspective, my perspective of the country, nationalism, being a patriot here in America. I had my Croatian grandfather that drove a tank in World War II, and then I had my Greek lineage that was hiding from Nazis in Greece. So when people that come from the lineage of the suppression of slavery and they try to project those sins on me, I actually have no ability to carry those sins, because you can't go far enough back in my lineage to find an owner. We are
same here.
Farmers, goat herders, your basic plebe. And so you are not squeezing an ounce of guilt out of this. I say that because I'm coming from a perspective of immigrants and the perspective of long lines of people that were from all over the world with oppressive governments. I don't know. This might be news to you. Grab a book. I don't know. But the Greeks invented democracy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I also hail from a place where the people created the beacon of the way to rule people. And this is the first implication where it's the closest to a pure democracy we've ever seen. It still isn't. It's a representative republic, but it's the closest we've gotten to it. So if I could come from a lineage of people that have, one, struggled in different countries, taken the voyage of hope to this place, and recreated a whole thing where now people are looking at this. My grandfather moved here. His kids are the first generation, and I'm the first pure American. And you're going, look at these goat fools in their privilege. So I'm coming at you with the perspective of that's a short period of time. 3 generations were able to get comfortable enough to where they went from herding goats to being exclaimed to have a privilege. That this is the comfort and hope this place gives you. So again, with the major concession that I am approaching this with a personal bias, I want that personal bias not to shade that it comes with a long line of experience. And that bias is going to boldly exclaim, I look at what you got. Dude, I remember watching a video or a movie in my social studies class about how us Canadians, we get to leave our doors open. They're totally unlocked. We have no guns here, so it's just we don't think about it.
I remember Michael Moore made a whole point about that in his gun
guess
violence
what?
documentary.
To me, if that's the best thing you got, and then I look at all the other tragedy, like I'm sorry, dude, the trucker convoy, to me, that is a social tragedy akin to similar to situations we've seen here. I'm going to stay away from 4 years ago, just a couple days ago.
Literally, that was the first thing that
Yeah.
came to mind.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you put on a play in Washington, D.C., and you're damning 50% of the country, a whole party of people. You're damning because you put on a fake play in D.C. So I'm just saying, we've experienced it here, but when I look at what's going on in Canada, I fail to see how it wouldn't get better with a constitution, with the ability to directly represent yourself, at least more directly. I don't know. What are your kind of refutations to that thought? Because I know you would probably disagree.
Well, you said a lot there, so we can kind of like cut it piece by piece if you want.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it all depends on the perspective that you look at it from, right? Because like I said, there's certain individuals that will benefit a lot from a sort of Canada becoming a 51st state, right? And those individuals are the 1%. That's really who's actually going to benefit, because the average Canadian will benefit a lot more, like I said, than the average American, of course, because obviously the Canadian economy is like $3-4 trillion. The American one is what, 30-40 trillion, right? Something like that. So it's like literally like 20x almost. That being said, there are certain things and values that were, not anymore, were very positive about Canada. Like you said, like one of them being, oh, you could just leave the door open here. You know, it's safe. But slowly but surely, that has not been the case for the past 5 to 10 years here in Canada, right? Like a lot of people now probably don't leave their doors
100%
anymore, you know? So what we're seeing here is, as I said before, because companies here run this country, they created this whole Lima scheme and the whole temporary foreign worker scheme and the whole, oh, we can't find Canadians to fill this job, so we're going to bring in temporary workers. AKA, people want a living wage. We're not going to give it to them. We have tons of money, but we don't want to share the money, so we're just going to bring people that are desperate and have them work for a minimum wage. And that's what's been going on since the past 5 years, right? Since 19 and 2020. You know what happened. I don't want to say it. And because of that, our society has deteriorated extremely fast, very, very fast in the last 5 years. The quality of life here has gone way down because inflation has been right on the uppity up. Wages have been the same because Guess what? I want to do this job, but I want $30. Oh, you want $30? Well, this temporary foreign worker will do it for minimum wage. Come here, temporary foreign worker, do the job, right? And our government allowed this to happen, by the way. They brought in a million people, and 800,000 of them, I think, were temporary foreign workers. So clearly, there was a move to sort of deteriorate the values of Canadian society, because remember, the values of Canadian society used to be 5-10 years ago. If you, just like in the US, very similar, if you go to university, you work hard, you graduate, you're guaranteed a really good job and you're set for life, baby. You're good. We got you, right? And that's not the case anymore, right? Our social contract has been shattered and broken. That's one. And two, with the whole trucker convention thing, our government has shown, and this is not the first time, and it won't be the last, certainly, they've shown that this is not a free country. Never has, and probably never will be. The reality is, when shit hits the fan, our government will use everything in its power to stop whatever.
And it has the power to do it.
And it has the
At
power
least
to do it.
there's some legal resistance
is,
in this country.
And the thing is,
there's hurdles.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, whether there's hurdles or not, whether there's a charter that protects the people or not, it was supposed to, it didn't, it failed. People are suing right now, and we'll see what the courts decide later. It's still, pending a lot of the cases. The reality is, unless you are part of the big club, aka the companies that run this country, or you're mega rich, you're going to feel the wrath of the government. If they don't like what you're saying, you're going to feel the wrath. And that's the reality of it. This whole illusion that we have built ourselves here, that we are a free country, has been shattered many times. The trucker convention is just the latest example that we all know of and that we can agree of. But I can go on. There's tons of examples that, we can have a whole separate episode about examples of how this country isn't actually as free as people think it is or say it is, because it's not.
Well,
right?
That's exactly it. And again, there was the narrative that they were able to sell 15, 20 years ago, because it also was mildly reflected in their crime statistics and everything else.
Yes,
but
it was.
That is a country of the past.
The
Not
marketing,
only, you're showing multiple facets here. One, the ability for the government to intervene beyond what you thought they could. On the flip side, just in an interpersonal societal level, the social construct and civility that was the product and good Canada sold to the world has totally evaporated. And I'm sorry, dude,
100%.
but I really want to make the point that that's a result of, when you look at who is motivated and being brought in to each other's respective country, we have the complaint that we have our legal migration, but then there's this piping flood of illegal migration. And so all of the attributes that might be negative of the migration to America have predominantly find itself in that illegal immigration, because the legal migration process is so stringent and there's so much involvement that usually we're able to weed out a lot of those problems. So focusing on the legal migration, what are we bringing in? What are each other respectively? The doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, and the business people of the world are going to America first. If they don't get in, then they're going to go to Canada. But Canada's major import of migration, we love our refugees. And then you go to somewhere rainbow like Toronto, and I'm sorry, homie, there's quite literally no continuity there. You go there and you're like, this is not a country. This is like a mall this is the food court mall of the world, because it's just everybody speaking a totally different language, living a totally different lifestyle. And there's beauty to that. Trust me, I'm not going to take away from that. But also, you have no identity. There's nothing to build upon. It's a bunch of motivated, strong members of society, but they're all running in different directions. Like there's no cohesiveness. And that's why you can't come up with a social standard that allows you to keep your doors unlocked like you used to. Those people are being overwhelmed and deluded by all the random refugees that are coming from across the world that are bringing their own culture, their own standard. And I'm sorry, they're not coming from places that really had that. So then you're shocked when you're like, oh my God, what happened to everybody with his fork and spoon? Like silverware, you put the glass on the right side of the, don't even think about asking to put your cup. You could put the cup on the right side of the plate. We're not even close to that. I can't keep you from stabbing me on the bus.
Subway.
Yeah, we got those.
Yeah, it's as I said, this process happened decades ago, and we're just now seeing the results of it. That's something that I want to stress as well too.
I like that.
That a lot of people saw this coming decades ago, right? That's why a lot of smarter people, what they do is, by the way, this scheme, like you said, if you try to come to America, but you can't, you come to Canada, but then once you're Canadian, you go to America because it's easier to go to America as a Canadian than it is as a non-Canadian. And that's what a lot of people did, by the way. This is a true story.
Yeah.
And in the past 5 years, you saw the numbers. What is it? 300,000 people from Canada to the US legally, by the way, legally. Like that's a lot of people.
So
that's a lot of people,
It's so funny though. There are people like that I'm mutual followers with on Twitter. That are from Canada, and they're constantly trying to find like a husband in America so they can get like a visa to like move here.
Funny.
Yeah,
they're very much like, dude, I want to.
Yeah.
I just
because
want
if you're not
Alex,
one of
you
the
and I had a
TN
friend from Canada, or that met a girl from Canada. Met her on some website, and they ended up getting married.
Oh yeah, no, dude, and they're married. Literally on like one of those where I met Silent.
Chat
Oh my
roulette.
god!
from
chat
Miami.
roulette.
You told me about
That's
that.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
chat
you told me about
roulette.
Literally, chat
That's
roulette
crazy.
meets a girl from Canada. They're married with a kid right now. She's living
Wow.
in Cincinnati.
Wow,
that. True love.
that's true
Maybe.
love right
At its
there. Real
finest.
love, baby.
If that one is, I mean, it stood the test of time. But keeping us grounded back to the rock bed topic here, which is Trudeau resigning. Doug kind of launched us into this topic, Silent, talking about, fake excitement versus real excitement. And we wanted to get a dial on how you felt about this. And I think we were able to. But what's funny is this is how I know this is real celebration. This one comes from the heart, the soul. Nobody had to pay these folks. These were the folks that set up a hot tub outside of Parliament celebrating. They were not paid, I can assume.
Dude. That is patriotic.
Oh, that's love. That's happiness.
That's vibes. That's like, oh my god, the Christmas.
No, dude, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of 2016 being at your place in Mount Union celebrating Trump's inauguration.
Yeah.
Like those guys are going to go, I remember exactly where I was when the dress-wearing soy boy prime minister resigned.
That's the thing, I guess. Like I haven't had too many thoughts about the whole Trudeau thing, other than like I don't view him very favorably. I view him very much as like I'd view like a dino.
I think I look at him as a world plant.
I
think the world elites have implanted Fidel Castro's son.
I literally view him as like a dino or a rhino in this country. Like you're just an elitist, you big corporation.
Wait, hold on. Silent, you're over there making faces. You're telling me you're not buying this scheme? You don't buy the whole charade that, the conspiracy theory that Fidel Castro is really Justin Trudeau's father?
When was Trudeau born?
How about this one? Have you seen this photo? This is a photo of Trudeau's mother, Margaret Trudeau. Yeah, that's her and Fidel Castro holding her baby.
That is Fidel Castro Jr. right there. Look at that.
Yeah, dude, come on.
The noses, man. I mean, the noses.
It's always the nose.
Dude, Ask my papu.
It's
I got his honker.
I got it. It was funny. Speaking of like the idea of like a celebrity dying, or like
I mean,
a
the
famous
eyes,
person dying,
the eyebrows, the nose,
famous
the mouth.
person dying, and then like immediately someone has like a kid. It was like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the woman who killed her mother. All of a sudden, Jimmy Carter dies, and they're like, Gypsy Rose gives birth to a boy. And someone said, "Welcome back, Jimmy Carter."
Oh no!
I thought that was good. I thought that was
That
good.
is really funny.
But no, that's kind of always how I viewed Trudeau. I was just curious, like Silent's perspective. Because
Yeah.
it'd be like,
Wait. So Silent, are you not buying this?
I mean, look, the resemblance is there. You can clearly see it, but I don't think that Fidel's is that.
Silent's like, I'm going to refrain from making a comment.
Yeah,
I need a passport.
I just want to mention,
don't-
I don't have any pictures with Fidel Castro. So, like,
Yeah, you also don't look
how
like
many
him,
people
Doug.
have a picture of them as a baby with their mom and Fidel Castro? I mean,
And look just like him.
I know, like
That narrows the pool even more. Like you look just like
that
him.
was like Schwarzenegger during his whole scandal, and then all of a sudden, like an 18-year-old shows up and it looks just like him. We'd be like, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me, darling. I swear."
It wasn't me, darling.
It's so good.
So, okay, we got a little silly with it, but I want to give Silent the stage. So, Silent, give us your thought, but also kind of close down the topic on what you think you can anticipate for the future of Canada. I think we've had a lot of side fun tangents, but keeping us to the heart of this, what are your thoughts and what should we expect?
Yeah, I think whoever comes up after Justin Trudeau has a lot of cleanup to do. Now, will they actually execute this cleanup? I highly doubt it. I don't think so. I think the same thing is going to happen, to where this country is just going to keep making the companies that run this country richer. They're going to deteriorate the middle class, and they are going to get cheap labor imported as a form of temporary foreign worker immigration. I hate to say it, but that's my take on the whole thing. And in reality, at the end of the day, this whole resignation thing was a tactical move by Justin, because he knew he would get wiped at the polls, and he wanted to give his party a chance, even a slight chance, which is why he resigned. And then he didn't actually resign, but he said he resigned, but he's not going to resign until a new leader comes in. Not
at least
as
he
in,
did that before an election, though, unlike our leaders.
right. And
Great
right,
point.
exactly, because he knew he would have got wiped if he just waited until October, or if when Parliament resumed in March, they would have pushed him to a no confidence vote. 100%, they would have, and he knew that, and that's why he wanted to delay it and suspend Parliament, because of that exact reason. If you guys want more deep details, CBC's about that did a fantastic video. They went into really deep detail about his tactical announcement and exactly highlighted word for word what he said and what it means, and they broke it down. It's a really nice video. It's only 9 minutes, so definitely check it out if you're interested more in finding out about Canadian politics. In addition to that, I think all this does is maybe it's going to unite people of Canada and finally have them realize and wake up once the new prime minister comes in, and in probably like 2 to 5 years, once they realize that not really much has changed, that they or we as Canadians need a systematic change, like a big change. And the prime minister swapping seats with another prime minister is not that kind of change. I'm talking something like way deeper, like write a whole new charter of rights and freedoms that actually protects people, that actually doesn't allow the government to grab in and reach whenever they actually want to grab in and reach, that actually goes back to the principles and foundations of this country.
No, I love that point. I want to emphasize, as Silent did, going to CNC News, they had an incredible breakdown.
CBC,
Like you
yeah.
said, it's about 9 minutes, and it really does a great job of, I mean, there's a lot of background chess at play here that, is worth considering. But even more so, bringing in my wrapping thought, I'm most curious about what provokes something so fast. The dude's in front of a mic choking up. I'm telling you what I just told my kids last night. Like, that's how quick it happened. And to me, that's telling. Like, I don't know what Epstein video resurfaced, or who's pulling the strings and, telling you to step down or what. But something clearly is at play. I like the on the boots on the ground, Canadian voice. That perspective is he was about to get wiped in an election, and this was the perspective that this was in his view, the best way of preserving the party's chance of succeeding moving forward. That's what we're being sold, but this being so abrupt with somebody that I think has already such a sketchy background, right? Like he definitely has an affair with Macron, right? The French guy who's married to the president, who's also married to a trans person. Like that's a whole nother element. This guy is gross. Like everything about him is weird, goofy. His connections to the big cabal, all of it. I think something triggered it. I don't think we'll ever know.
No.
I think Silence Point is the grandest, which is whatever corruption they got about this puppet was about to surface, and they're just switching out with another puppet. This is not going to bring about, and I think we as Americans might resonate with that. Now, when my puppet gets on the TV and says, I'm changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, listen, woo! YMCA. So, like, I get it. We're probably not going to see much change here. We just had the same deal. Different puppet, same problem. But at least we get to laugh with this one. So, it's kind of more of like a clown. We get to enjoy this puppet a little bit more. My wrapping thought is I'm going to be most eager to see what comes about. Hopefully there is real change. But as Silent has indicated as well, there is no constitution. There is no bedrock of legal guarding that Canadians can rely on. When the going gets tough and they want to stop what you're doing, like they don't like your trucker caravan or they don't like you standing up against, they'll just turn you off. You don't have a constitution. You actually don't have any rights. And that shows its face when the government needs or feels compelled to intervene. I don't think anything's going to change in that world. And so I feel bad for them in that respect. But hopefully, like he says, it motivates enough people and wakes up enough people to where the masses compel and require change. What are your wrapping thoughts?
Don't really have much. I'm just looking forward to his book deal in a year of titled How I Did My Things and Got Away with It.
That's a great point, sir.
That's I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a good tour. I hope it comes to Cleveland. I would love that. I would love to get it signed. I would absolutely. And in this country we don't burn books. So that's going right up on the mantle. So that's my wrapping thoughts.
Doug, wrapping thought.
Again, I actually don't have much on this one because I can't say I really it's going to affect us at all, but there's definitely some we don't know, and Will brought up a great point of can't wait to read his book in a couple of years because that's the next route for him, just like any politician. Easy money for books and speaking tours.
Even though we know it won't reveal anything juicy that we want. So we're going to end the show here with Will and I playing Jokey, this thing from Squid Games. More than any, and Doug too, he'll be jumping in. But we were more than curious. The show makes it look so hard to play, and I genuinely want to see what it is like.
I'm curious if we're using like the same material.
Probably not. I would imagine. I imagine
like
a legitimate one
I think it's
is
more like an envelope thick.
Weighted of some kind.
I would think it's probably a thicker type of
rubber in there or something.
No rubber. It's just thicker paper.
Yeah.
I bet you
it's like
a
envelope
hard stock type paper that. Anyway, we're still going to give it a try. So for those of you that are listening to us, streaming us like a podcast, we're going to bid you adieu here. Be sure to catch our show every Tuesday live. The whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. We've got all different types of shows, but you can find it in one central place, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. But for those of you that are joining us with the video element, you can tag along. I'm going to quickly transition the one camera so we can play and give this game a chance.
The bumbleberries.
But bumbleberries is gold. Liquid gold. All right, Douglas, click to this camera. Wilbur? Burr, you playing with me or what?
Oh yeah.
This should be interesting.
Let's get an idea of. Oh, now you get to see that I wasn't wearing dress pants. All right. See, you gotta get that to flip. Yeah, you gotta get it to flip. Oh, here, let me take this. Yeah, you gotta get it to flip.
Alex, I'd move the pink one over a little bit.
You want to give it a try, Dudley?
Give it a try. Let's see how I do here. I said I had high hopes.
Oh, the whole game. We're getting slapped a lot.
Oh, man.
You thought you had the.
I just didn't hit it.
Doug was talking up his technique all pre-show.
Alex hit it.
It's definitely got to be thicker paper.
I don't even want to win. I just want to.
I don't think that I don't think it's thick enough to actually do anything.
I've just been slapped so many times. Yeah, peace.
Oh yeah, your face is red right now. He's definitely not gonna give you that card.
No, not at all. Here. Hey, thanks for joining us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. This is an epic fail. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Peace. I gotta go over there now and end the stream. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.